not transactional kind of business relationship, and that's it. I want to end the panel after with one question to Dr. Faisal. I want your insights on one thing that's very important. As I asked Mr. Arshad at the beginning about the ASEAN OIC, I want to ask you about the GCC OIC relationship and the GCC OIC relationship, and what are I would say the opportunities within the GCC and between GCC and OIC?
Well, I'm not an official representative of GCC or OIC, but I promise Dr. Wael I'll try to not speak about my company or our companies a lot, but try to bring something interesting. But just briefly, as Al-Qadi is a 100-years-old company, it's mainly on the automotive and industrial fashion, and it has been doing OIC investment and export and import for so long. We've been dealing with Turkey since the 80s, with the UAE, with Jordan, even Lebanon. Lebanon manufactures some product that goes into the automotive industry. Imagine, so there is chance, there is an opportunity, and it is definitely interesting. And in terms of Saudi, the opportunities are huge. I mean, you've seen the news, you've seen the last 5-10 years, things have definitely changed. There are huge opportunities, especially in the privatization sector. So there's a lot of privatization. We have an authority which is dedicated to focus on that, to make sure it is governed properly, that it is fair, that the laws and policies are there, and they're measuring this very, very closely. Privatization, FDI, even local government incentives like local content. If you are manufacturing there, we have to submit now annual certificates for the local content proportion of our business. It can give you even a premium, government contracts. So the incentives in Saudi are fantastic, and I think it's the right time now to come into Saudi. There's entrepreneurial visas, entrepreneurial as well tax cuts.
Thank you. That was really insightful, especially the sea and the space part is completely something. I wonder how many have thought about it, and the fact that OIC is not part of this body. So, thank you. Moving on to Ambassador James Shah, former British Ambassador to Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. Drawing from your experience in Azerbaijan and other emerging economies, what lessons can be applied to help OIC member states strengthen intra-OIC trade, attract investment and improve the ease of doing business through strategic policy reforms?
Thank you very much, Alia. And thank you for making me feel so special here today. We've heard a lot about the B57 plus one or plus, and I kind of feel like, looking at the list of speakers, I'm like, I am the plus. Because despite what Elon Musk will tell you, Britain is not yet an Islamic state. not yet. not yet. However, in my defence, I will say that I have actually lived in 6 OIC countries, and I've visited and worked with about another half of them. So, one lesson I have learned from all of this, and I think that will be obvious to all of you, is there's a massive difference between the countries. You could call it diversity, complementarity, we've heard as well, but we have to acknowledge the differences. For example, we have rich versus poor. Some of the top countries in terms of GDP per capita are OIC countries, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, for example. And half of the 25 poorest countries in the world are OIC members. Big versus small. 4 of the 10 most populous countries in the world are OIC members: Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Nigeria. And then on the other hand, you have the micro-states like Kuwait and Bahrain and Brunei, I think is probably the smallest. On top of that, energy rich versus energy poor. It should be obvious, I think, to most of us included on the panel. And then stable versus unstable. In that all of the poorest countries in the OIC all suffer from internal conflicts at the moment. So that's leaving aside the form of government and the type of coherent policy making for all of the countries. But I just wanted to offer a few thoughts. Despite having trashed my own argument, I'm still going to offer a few thoughts. And I wanted to pick up on some of the things that the soccer representative was making. He was talking about oil and gas will be here for a long time. Well, it may be. However, all of the oil and gas countries, and of course Azerbaijan is one with 90% of its exports being hydrocarbons, they have to think about diversification. That's clearly going on already, including Azerbaijan, where the government has come up with a list of about 6 or 7 policy areas, key strategic areas it wants to diversify into tourism, agriculture, ICT, health, transportation, for example. And Saudi Arabia, of course, has a very active and very visible diversification strategy, shall we say. And I think that what I was saying there is fine. It's really important if you want to avoid the resource curse, if you want to make sure that you have a life beyond oil and gas, you do have to think about diversification. But when you're doing that, how do you do it? And it's, most OIC countries do have a big state sector. And it's very easy to say, okay, we'll set up a state company to do this sector, this new sector, and that new sector. Which again, you just want to avoid that temptation. The key will be how do you then allow the private sector to develop give opportunities to the private sector in these new areas. And by private sector, I think again,
it's a very excellent source of employment, far better than the public. It's also a source of innovation and ingenuity, and definitely of competitiveness. And it resolves, if empowered correctly, some of the problems that were pointed out. Now, in Arabic we say Ras al-Mal Jaban, which means public or private capital is a coward. It's not a coward, it's wise. It needs to be for it to move, really be mobilized. Very important that we get de-risking, that you get building of confidence, and also that you get the expansion of real opportunities. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to mobilize the private capital and attract the institutional investors that you need. Again, in the case of the bank, we have identified 4 focus areas that we've been working on, and I will go through them if you allow me. First, I'll try not to be long-winded, but I've noticed each question that you ask, I think, can have a panel of its own.
Several questions, and that several questions would be like some of our KPIs to go further. For example, just a humble example. He asked how many brands or trademarks we own in OIC as a global brands. We have a very rich concept in everything. In food, in fashion, in every business aspect. And today, alhamdulillah, we have a very strong countries doing great in business, including Turkey, where we are today, and from the Far East, Indonesia, to the West, Morocco. But how many global brands really we own? As you know, now every year there is a semi-official, I can say, ranking for the top 100 brands. In that top 100, we have only less than 5, and it's shame to mention the real number, but less than 5, while we represent like quarter of the population of the world. So this is one indicator of what should we do. Lots of work should be done. lots of remarks we